We do our best, music teachers, to plan, to think ahead, to get all of the details just right so that our activity centers go exactly the way we plan. But that doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen. So that's what we're going to talk about today in the video. We're going to talk about reflecting and revising. It's a very important thing as a teacher to be a reflective educator. If you are reflecting about how you're doing, you're probably doing it right. That means if things go well, you're saying, oh, that worked really well when I asked them to line up this way. Oh, that worked really well when I passed out the instruments this way. This is also good things. But if it's not going well, don't just oh, the kids are crazy. That is not a helpful act. That's not a helpful response. It's not. It's just not. It's usually not the kids. Hate to say it. It's usually us. We've planned it, but we didn't think of all the things. We gave directions, but maybe they weren't so clear, right? We forgot that they need pencils at that particular activity. So it is really important after you do some centers to just sit down and go, how did that go? Did they do the things? Did people stay at the activities? Were the activities fun? Did I plan the timing well? That's another thing. So let's go through a list of questions. So first of all, were your expectations followed? So the rules that you set up, my rules are very simple. My rules are stay at your center. My rules are do your very best. My rules are be helpful to the people in your group and clean up your activities. That's it. Those are all my rules. Did they follow them? And if not, why not? What was going on that maybe they didn't follow them? Was there a child who just really had a meltdown and didn't work well with the people that they were with? Was there a child who didn't understand the activity and people in the group weren't being helpful? Do I need to maybe go back and talk a little bit more about what being helpful in a group looks like? There might be some additional behavior training that I can do for the kids and help them to understand what that actually looks like. The next thing is, were they able to follow my directions? If you are doing a physical task card where you have the actual directions of what you want them to do there, were those directions clear? If you did a video where they watched the activity first, was that clear? And finally, if you previewed the activity maybe on a previous class day, did you remember to review it before they got to the activity? So maybe there was a little bit of things, maybe a couple of things that you could have added or made more clear or more simple so that it made more sense for the kids. What about the materials? Did you have everything at your centers that you actually needed? Did the kids have to get up and walk across the room to get a pencil? Did they have to get up and walk across the room to turn in a paper? Did they find their mallets that they needed for that? Was your recorder center set up near where the recorders are stored? There are certain logistical questions that it's really good to look at and think about. It may not be something that came to mind to you before you actually did these centers, and then here you are with children in your room and you're like, oh, that's not working very well. Let me rethink that. I bet we could make that better so that everybody's a little bit clearer and it's not a crazy place to be. We don't like crazy. No. Timing is one that gets me sometimes because I'll put out a worksheet that I think is going to take the full 8 minutes that everybody else is going to have on their different rotations, and they're done with that worksheet in a second. And then I'm faced with, what do you have them to do then? And the not such a good idea is, oh, make another pattern on the back of the paper. Like, that's dumb. They hate that. They know you're just filling time. So that's one of those things that for me has caught me a couple of times where the timing isn't correct. If a worksheet is too long, the kids can get very frustrated because they didn't finish it. There are certain kids that are all about finishing a thing. So a half sheet might be better for a shorter time center than a full sheet. If you do a word search, for example, make it an easier word search that they can actually complete it in 8 minutes and feel like that sense of accomplishment. Creating things is one of the things that I never plan well. I'm working on it. We're all working on it, right? We're all working on it. So timing is something that catches me from time to time. Time to time. See what I did there? The last question I recommend you ask is, what about the positioning of your centers? Did you have any centers that were too loud right next to each other? Maybe you had kids playing hand percussion right next to where somebody was reading a book. Or you had a really loud game on your whiteboard screen right next to where people were trying to think about doing recorder songs or singing. And so the sound from that really impacted what they were trying to do over here. Positioning the centers is one of those strategies that you'll learn over time as you practice this. You'll start to figure out, oh yeah, that didn't work next to each other. And maybe the solution is just to switch two different centers. It could be that you have to have a different content in the center, maybe a different game or a different thing that you're doing over there. But sometimes if you just switch the centers around into a different order, they work way better. Now, here's the great news. It is every time you do centers, you're going to get better and better at it. It's going to go quicker. You're going to figure things out. And I really applaud you for trying it. Really, this is not easy. When I was in my training program and as an undergrad, nobody talked to me about doing centers. When I did my student teaching, nobody talked to me about doing centers. It was all about large group activities. Large group, everything was large group activities. And now we understand that not all children work well in the large group environment. The crazy thing is that kids do activity centers in their classrooms all the time. And that is why I am here, because we as music teachers also need to know how to do this and know some of the strategies. Thanks for watching this video. If you found this content helpful, please remember to subscribe and like. Remember to download the free guide below. Jumpstart your lessons with music centers. Thanks for watching. This is Pam Wilson from Music in the Center.